Well, let's get the analysis on this one and reaction, and bring in Mark Garnett from the University of Lancaster up there in the northwest of England. Mark Garnett, thank you very much for joining us. Give us your reaction. I mean, this is actually breaking in the past hour. These papers were ordered to be released last week. What is your reaction to what you're seeing and what you're learning?
Well, every responsible government has to plan for eventualities, and I'm sure that within Whitehall there are lots of plans and lots of different scenarios, some of which will be extremely alarming. But the problem with this particular document is that the emergency which Yellowhammer is supposed to lay out, and the kind of possible consequences, is of a course of action which has been chosen by our current government supposedly as a negotiating tactic. Now, the current government wants the public in Britain to think that the EU needs Britain a lot more than Britain needs the EU. But these documents paint a rather different picture, and they do, I think, although this news is very recent, it does really paint a picture of a government embarking on a gamble which might even involve the lives of people, as well as the other things which have been really well publicised about medical supplies, which in the end could equally give rise to problems with people's health and lives. So it's been a very bad day for the government, and really it's hard to see how it could get worse.
Indeed. Michael Gove, one of Boris Johnson's close allies, obviously an arch-Brexiteer, though once upon a time, of course, he wasn't, but, they changed, don't they? He's described it as what could occur in a reasonable worst-case scenario. What do you think about that?
Well, quite. Yes, I mean, this is the thing, that what that really means translated into English really is that this isn't alarmist. This is what really might happen if things go very badly. And that is something that government should take into account when embarking on a particular course of action. And again, I think although no deal has been supposedly anyway taken off the table by Parliament, I think it does again raise questions about the judgment of ministers who are prepared to put the public at risk. Now, the real big problem about this is that usually these things are dismissed as the products of Project Fear, to make the British people think that it's easier, better to remain in the EU because the consequences will be fearful. But when government officials who are charged with the duty of looking after the national interest, when they produce documents like this, then really it does begin to expose as I say, the judgment of this government, and raise questions about its suitability. It also, I think, raises questions about our constitution, very deep questions, because once this document is in the public domain, this is a kind of situation where an elected president, you might think, would step in and perhaps ask for the resignation of the prime minister. Well, as we've seen in our constitution, the Queen doesn't have that kind of active role. So this is something Brexit, the effects of Brexit, just roll out throughout the whole of British life and British politics and the British Constitution. Nothing will ever be the same again. And this is a Yellowhammer document, but it's a hammer blow against the idea that Britain is a well-governed nation.
Indeed, a Yellowhammer blow, indeed, and a well-turned phrase there, Mark. Finally, with the finding of the judges in Scotland saying that this was unlawful, closing down of Parliament, does Boris Johnson have any option, other than to fly in the face of what people are saying, other than to call back the MPs and reopen Parliament?
I would think that would be the prudent course of action. But again, this court case and the judgments in Scotland has shown just how raw, really, the wounds are within the British body politic, because I've seen today online lots of people linking this with the Scottish nationalist campaign to basically get independence from the United Kingdom. And a lot of people on the Brexit side are saying this is a reason why Britain should, in fact, almost evict Scotland from the United Kingdom. So this is a terrible situation where calm voices are needed. The trouble is that so many of our leading politicians are at present discredited, but it does need, I think, senior politicians to get together and try to work out something which might even eventually lead to a government of national unity to get us through this crisis.
Indeed, national unity. That seems like a very far-off idea right now, doesn't it? Mark Garnett, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Mark Garnett there from the University of Lancaster. Thank you very much indeed, Mark.